Hello. I'll wait a minute for everyone to come here to the new link. Hopefully we should be working fine this time. I got hi Blue, hi Rumi. My speed test was better. This weird thing happens with my internet. I'll test the speed and the download speed will be a little bit lower than usual, but the upload speed is fine. It's like totally normal. But then I get lagging, and then I reset my router and like both speeds are fine. But I'm like, it shouldn't matter because the upload speed was okay. So at this point, I feel like I just have to reset my router before every single stream because I don't know what's going to happen. Hi, Cookie. Hi, Wolf. It's good to see you. Um, I didn't do anything to fix the tripod, Roomy, so if it's looking better now, that's great. Wolf, you got the new notification because I had to start over because my internet was being mean. So, hi again, everyone. I was basically just saying the beginning of this book is confusing and there's a lot of characters and new things, and I might have forgotten who some people are, but I was told that that's normal. So, Wolf, it's gone again. Is anyone having trouble with the stream now, or can you see me okay? Or the notification is gone? I just want to make sure I'm not... I don't know, I did reset, so I thought it was doing fine. Oh no, okay. That's weird. That shouldn't happen right now. Okay. I'm gonna give it a minute. Elsie, you got lag right now too. Cookie, you said I'm back. I'm back now. I just don't know if it's gonna keep doing this. My signal is supposed to be fine. So I don't understand this internet. The router is from the company. Okay. And it's, so I could buy a new router and modem, but they were, like, supplied to me. And then the internet itself, we don't really have any better options here. Like, the only other option with a different company is, like, much worse internet. So I don't really know why I have all these issues that I do, but I kind of am stuck with what I've got. Okay, so can everyone, like, hear me now? And, see me without lag? It seems to be okay now. I don't know. The weather was okay, but it seems a little bit gray out, so I don't know if something is happening with the weather. But I'm just gonna hope that we're good and start reading. Sorry about that. We are on page 61 for chapter 6, which is called Imprisonment. Shen Zichuan entered the Temple of Guilt on a rare sunny day in Chudu. White snow blanketed the tiles of the palace roofs, the green plum blossoms of late winter set against vermilion walls. Sunlight shone on the eaves of the prison building, casting a stark border between light and shadow on the ground before his feet. By Nina, he had scarcely recovered from his illness and was practically skin and bone. When he opened his eyes in the sunlight, any dreams of his first 15 years scattered like ashes in the freezing wind. Ge Ching Ching preceded him down the stairs, then turned back and said, "It's getting late." Supporting himself against the pillars, Shen Zichuan made his way slowly down to the wagon. He'd grown unaccustomed to being exposed under the sun, but it didn't scare him. Any lingering childishness in his features had been crushed by the pallor of illness. His face was studiously blank. Over at the temple, Jile waited at the entrance with Xiao Fuzi hovering at his side. As he looked up at the ancient architecture, Xiao Fuzi marveled. What a curious place. It doesn't seem like a prison at all. I see you don't know its history, said Jile. The Temple of Guilt was originally a place for the royal family to offer incense. It used to house an imperial decree penned in the Guangcheng Emperor's own hand. Is everyone having an okay time with the stream? No lagging or anything? In its heyday, eminent monks from all over the country assembled here. Those great meetings of minds were the talk of their time. Why has there been no mention of it in recent years? Xiao Fuzi eyed the magnificent entrance. It's rather run down. Repairs haven't been done for years, have they? Jile thought a moment. 20, at least. At the time, the condemned crown prince instigated the 8 great battalions to stage a coup. After their defeat, he retreated to this temple and fought like a cornered beast, eventually slitting his own throat and spilling his blood across the Buddha statues. The late emperor never set foot here again. He stripped the temple of its original name and redubbed it the Temple of Guilt. 20 years. Xiao Fuzi clutched his throat in exaggerated surprise. I wasn't even born. Your Excellency had just joined the embroidered uniform guard then, hadn't you? Rather than answer, Jile snapped, Why is he not here yet? As he peered down the road behind them. The stone tablet at the temple's entrance was engraved with the word Jiao Zui, Revelation of Guilt. Xiao Fuzi approached it, still curious. But how have I never heard of anyone being locked inside it? Jilei's irritation was plain. Only court officials with ties to the condemned crown prince were imprisoned here. Most of them saw their entire clans executed before being beheaded themselves. Survivors of the incident were few and far between. It's been 20 years. Who would remember? The prison wagon rolled up to the entrance. Hi, animal lover. You're new here, I think. Good to see you. He's here, Your Excellency. Ge Qingqing bowed to Jile. Send him in. Jile turned to Shen Zichuan as he passed. After this farewell, I doubt we'll meet again. His Majesty has been generous. Spend the rest of your sorry life reflecting on the grace extended to you. Shen Zichuan acted as if he hadn't heard. He stepped forward and over the threshold. As the peeling vermilion doors ground closed behind him, the young man stood in the gloom of the temple and looked placidly back at Jile. Profoundly irked, Jile was ready to lose his temper when he saw a serene smile spread across Shen Zichuan's face. He's gone mad. The thought came to Jile unbidden, even before he heard Shen Zichuan call out, Lord Ji. His voice was very calm. We will meet again. The doors shut with a heavy thud, stirring up a cloud of dust. Xiao Fuzi covered his nose and coughed as he stepped back. Jile, however, stood frozen in place. When he finally returned to his senses, it seemed Xiao Fuzi had already called to him several times. He swiftly mounted his horse and turned so his back was warmed by the sun. Good riddance, he managed. Too late. Xiao Qi was riding through the city streets when he crossed paths with Jile. Reining his horse to a halt, he laughed boisterously. Lao Ji, aren't you on duty in the palace? I had to oversee that dirty bastard's imprisonment at the temple, so I'm only now rushing to the palace. Jile cast a covetous glance at Xiao Qi's battle steed. What an excellent horse, Gongza. I hear you train them yourself? I had some free time. Xiao Qi cracked the riding crop in the air, and his circling gerfalcon swooped down to his shoulder. Falconry and playing with horses are all the talents I have. Once you've assumed your duties in the new year, you'll have more than enough on your plate, Jile said. The rising star of Chudu. I'm not on duty tomorrow. How about we go for a drink to celebrate? Count me out unless it's fine wine, said Xiao Chuya. Jile laughed aloud. Of course it's fine wine. Who would presume to invite the second young master without it? I'll call it your manner later to invite you. Would the heir of Li Bei join the fun? My elder brother doesn't think much of that kind of fun, Xiao Chuya said, rubbing his thumb ring. Why? Is my company not enough? I certainly didn't say that, Jile said in a rush. That settles it then, Gongza. Nodding in agreement, Xiao Chuya spurred his horse to leave. But at the last minute, he seemed to recall something. How did that little bastard look? Can he walk? He can walk, Jile replied. But from what I saw, the kid's never going to be nimble. How many survive a flogging like that without lasting injuries? He's lucky he can even stand. Xiao Qi rode away without asking more. When evening fell, the temple attendant brought Shen Zichuan his meal. He left the food untouched. With an oil lamp in hand, he made a round along the small corridors at the sides of the main hall. Dust had long settled on every surface, and several of the side rooms had fallen into complete disrepair, doors and windows crumbling from rot. After sighting several skeletons that looked like they might topple at the slightest breeze, he returned to the main hall, having found no other living creature. That's not creepy at all. Henry. What are the horse desensitizing videos? Oh, like a tutorial on how to desensitize your horse. He's like he's training everybody. I can see that. The Buddha statue at the center of the hall had collapsed, but the incense altar was durable despite its age. The space beneath it was just right. Chen Zichuan draped a tattered curtain over its surface and lay down under the altar table, fully clothed. The cold from the floor made his legs ache. Gritting his teeth against the pain, he closed his eyes and counted out the hours. Fine snow started to fall in the latter half of the night. Shen Zichuan heard an owl hoot twice and sat up, lifting aside the fabric just in time to see Ji Gong step through the door. Eat first. Ji Gong opened the cloth bundle he had brought. Then we'll train. This place is too drafty. It's freezing in here. I'm worried you'll catch a cold if you fall asleep. Shen Zichuan looked down at the roasted chicken wrapped in oil paper. One should abstain from meat when recovering from injuries. You have it, Shifu. Bullshit. This is the time to fill your stomach, Ji Gong said as he tore off pieces of chicken for him. Shifu likes the chicken butt. Even at home, it was my favorite. Save that part for me. I'll follow your lead, Shen Zichuan said, and eat whatever you eat. Ji Gong glanced at him and laughed. Brat. In the end, master and disciple split the roast chicken between them. Ji Gong seemed to have grown a mouth of iron teeth. He chewed even the bone to pieces. Handing his drinking gourd to Shen Zichuan, he said, Drink some wine if the cold becomes too bitter to bear. But not too much. Sip in moderation, like your brother did. Over these last days, they had never mentioned Zhongbo, Duanzhou, or even the Chasha sinkhole. Hua Pingting and Jimu were the unspoken wounds shared by both master and disciple. Each thought they had hidden their grief, not realizing the blood had already soaked through their bandages, and that their pain was mutual. Shen Zichuan took a sip and handed it back. Jigong didn't take it. I quit. Shifu doesn't drink anymore. Silence filled the hall. Without the barrier of the long rotted door, powdery snow fell before their eyes, the only scenery in the endless night. What are you thinking about, spacing out like that? Jigong asked. Shifu, Shen Zichuan began. Spit it out. I'm sorry. After a long silence, Jigong said, It's not your fault. Shen Zichuan curled his hand into a fist. He stared fixedly at the snow, as if tears would fall if he so much as blinked. Did you look for us at Chashe? He asked, his voice tight. Jigong slowly leaned back against the altar, submerging his body in shadow. He seemed to be searching for his own voice. After an interval, he answered, I did. I found him. He found him. In that deep pit of snow, Jigong had found his son covered in arrows. He had jumped into the sinkhole, stepping over thick piles of corpses, and dug out Jimu's body. Jimu was only 23, freshly promoted to squad leader in the Duanzhou garrison troops. His armor was new. The day he put it on, Hua Pingting had tucked a protective talisman beneath the chainmail. When Jigong found him, he was frozen purple, packed in the mud with his fellow soldiers. Shen Zichuan raised his head slightly. I'm sorry, Shifu. Jigong was old. He scratched his white hair and said, He's the elder brother, isn't he? It's what he should have done. None of it was your fault. The snow piled in drifts outside the hall. Jigong drew his limbs in, hugging himself. No one could have known those Biansha bastards would come. He's a soldier. Charging to the front lines is his job. I taught him to fight, and knowing his temperament, he would rather die than run. He never could bear to see others suffer, so how could he run away? It's neither your fault nor his, Chuan Er. Shifu is the one to blame. I drank too much. Your Xinyang scolded me all those years, but I never quit. When the horsemen came, I couldn't even put up a fight. I'm old and ruined, and became useless long ago. Tears dripped onto the drinking gourd. Shen Zichuan gripped it tight and said nothing. Old and ruined. A grinning head suddenly poked out from behind the Buddha statue. Old and ruined. Who's there? Jigong bellowed, springing up like a leopard. The unkempt man slowly emerged from his hiding spot as he parroted Jigong. Who? That voice was distinctive. Jigong pushed Shen Zichuan back down and rasped in astonishment. Grand Mentor Qi. The man shrank back immediately. Kicking the Buddha, he yelled, No, I'm not the Grand Mentor. Jigong ran behind the statue in pursuit, Shen Zichuan right behind him. When Jigong saw the man about to crawl through a hole in the wall, he pounced and grabbed him by the ankle. The old man squealed like a stuck pig. Your Highness, he screamed. Run, Your Highness. Shen Zichuan covered the man's mouth and helped Jigong carry him back. Shifu, who is this? You're too young to have known of him. Jigong's voice was unsteady as he held the man down. This is wonderful, Grand Mentor Qi. You're alive. And Lord Zhou? Is Lord Zhou here too? Grand Mentor Qi was short in stature and thin as a rail. Too frail to land a proper kick, he resorted to glaring at them as he hissed, "He's dead. Dead. I'm dead. His Highness is dead. Everyone is dead." "Grand Mentor, it's me, Jigong," Jigong said, voice heavy. "The Vice Commander of the Embroidered Uniform Guard, Jigong." Still badly shaken, Grand Mentor Chi hesitantly craned his neck to examine Jigong. "You're not Jigong. You're an evil spirit." "Grand Mentor," Jigong cried sorrowfully. "In the 23rd year of Yongyi, I escorted you into the capital. This very temple is where His Highness the Crown Prince met and welcomed you. Have you forgotten this too?" Grand Mentor Chi's eyes glistened. "They killed the Crown Prince, His Highness." He sobbed. "Jigong, Lord Ji, take His Highness away. The Eastern Palace has become a target of all. What crime has His Highness committed?" Jigong dejectedly loosened his grip. "Grand Mentor, in the 29th year, Jilei sold his soul to the enemy, and I was cast out of Chudu. These 20 years, I've wandered the world. I took a wife and fathered a child in Zhongbo's Duanzhou. Even if His Highness is gone, the imperial grandson still lives." The Grand Mentor stared at him blankly. "Take him away. You take him away." Jigong closed his eyes. "In the 30th year of Yongyi, the Crown Prince slit his own throat in this very hall. No one from the Eastern Palace survived." The Grand Mentor leaned back and muttered, "Yes, that's right." He began to sob like a child. How did it come to this? "A parting like clouds adrift, 10 years like flowing water past." There's a footnote. From the Tang poem, "A Greeting on River Huai to My Old Friends from Liangchuan" by Wei Yingwu. "Who would guess that we should meet again in this life under such circumstances?" Jigong said. The events of the night had exhausted him. Grand Mentor Chi turned and covered his face. "Did they lock you up too? Let us all be locked up. Let them slaughter all men of learning in the world." "My disciple is being punished on his father's behalf," Jigong said. "On his father's behalf? Well, good," Grand Mentor Chi said. "Who is his father? Did he also anger His Majesty?" "Last year, Shen Wei's troops were routed in battle," Jigong sighed. To his surprise, the Grand Mentor whipped his head around at the name Shen Wei. He scrambled like a beast toward Shen Zechuan. "This is Shen Wei's son?" Jigong sensed something was amiss, but before he could move, Grand Mentor Chi lunged at Shen Zechuan, clawing at him with wizened fingers as he howled, Shen Wei killed His Highness." Sharp-eyed and agile even after illness, Shen Zechuan caught Grand Mentor Chi's wrists before he could do any damage. Jigong sprang up to restrain the old man once again. "Grand Mentor, do you want my disciple to die today for the same reason as the imperial grandson? No matter what crimes Shen Wei committed, what does it have to do with my disciple?" "If he's the son of Shen Wei..." There was a quiver in the Grand Mentor's voice. He panted heavily. "Shen Wei..." Without releasing the Grand Mentor from his grasp, Jigong dropped to his knees in a kowtow. "He was born the son of Shen Wei, but he became the son of Jigong. If I've uttered a word of falsehood tonight, may I die a terrible death. Grand Mentor, do you intend to kill my son?" That's the end of the chapter. And, well, things are happening. And the next chapter, chapter 7, is called Grand Mentor. So maybe we get to learn more about him. Dumbstruck, Grand Mentor Chi pulled his hands out of Ji Gong's grip. He turned his face away, refusing to look at Shen Zichuan. This man had been mad for 20 years, imprisoned in this hall and despising everyone outside it. Yet all of a sudden, he had to convince himself not to hate the son of his enemy. Who? Grand Mentor Chi's voice was woeful. Then whom should I kill? The snow fell in silence. The crows in the courtyard abandoned their branch. The tattered drapes in the main hall fluttered in the blowing wind. Grand Mentor Chi staggered to his feet and raised his arms high, the picture of utter devastation. The die is cast. He who triumphs is redeemed, and he who fails is damned. His Highness's virtuous name has been blackened, and you and I will be condemned to posterity as traitors. Whom should I kill? I should turn my blade on the ignorant and foolish heavens. 20 years ago, His Highness's blood spilled on these floors. What crime did we commit, that the Emperor in his ruthlessness deemed we must die? Tears and snot poured down the Grand Mentor's face. He dropped to his knees, trembling, at the entrance of the hall. And banged his head on the floor, again and again. Kill me as well. The snowy night was miserable and cold. In the desolate old temple, no one answered his cries. Slumped on his knees, Grand Mentor Chi resembled the decrepit Buddha statue, buried under a shroud of cottony snow in the brilliantly illuminated Chudu night. An hour later, Ji Gong supported a calmer Grand Mentor Chi by the arm as the three of them sat in a circle before the altar. Much of what we speak of tonight happened because of me. Allow me to explain everything. Ji Gong rolled up his sleeves. Grand Mentor, Chuan Er was born of the Shen clan. He is Shen Wei's 8th son of common birth. 8 years ago, the conflict between the lawful and common branches in the Prince of Jianxing's manor was as volatile as fire and oil. Shen Zhouji, the heir of Jianxing, won his father's favor and sent his brothers of common birth out of the manor. Chuan Er was only 7 years old. He wasn't fit to join the army in Duanzhou, so he lived in an auxiliary courtyard, raised by his late mother's handmaid. However, the woman was greedy and often skimmed the child's rations for herself. Ping Ting had known the boy's mother when she was alive. When she learned of this, she bade me take Chuan Er home so we could look after him. Shen Wei himself was of common birth and suffered his share of injustice in childhood, yet he ended up putting his own sons through the same. Grand Mentor Chi sneered. How ludicrous, to favor his children of lawful birth, when it was his own lechery that led him to beget so many children. What a disgrace. We sent several letters to the prince's manor, but not once did Shen Wei reply. Among the 8 great clans of Chudu, even for sons of common birth, such blatant neglect is unheard of. Ji Gong furrowed his brows. This is how Chuan Er came to be raised by us. Mu Er was 15 then, and he was delighted to have a little brother. Our family of 4 settled down in Duanzhou. It took a lot of effort just to get our names into the military register. Grand Mentor Chi was silent for a moment. You left the capital bearing the mark of a criminal, he said. It would naturally be difficult for you to register your household. Back then, His Highness strictly enforced the yellow register system that recorded all households to suppress bandits and prevent civilian unrest. I understood his reasons, Ji Gong said. But Grand Mentor, What happened in Chudu after I left? How did His Highness the Crown Prince meet such an end? Grand Mentor Qi dragged over a tattered curtain and wrapped it around his shoulders. After you left, he began gloomily, Ji Wufan fell out of favor with the Emperor. At the same time, Pan Rugui became a favorite of the Empress and rose to the post of Director of Writ at the Directorate of Ceremonial Affairs. The embroidered uniform guard fell into decline, and its 12 offices existed only in name. After Ji Wufan's death, Ji Lei took up the mantle. From then on, the eunuchs in the Eastern Depot lorded over the embroidered uniform guard, who ceased working with the Eastern Palace. There's a footnote for the eunuchs in the Eastern Depot. Eastern Depot, the Emperor's secret service run by the eunuchs, tasked with spying on state officials. Later on, when the Emperor fell ill and was confined to his bed, the daily affairs of the court were to be jointly managed by the Grand Secretariat and the Eastern Palace. But the Hua clan exploited the Empress's sway over the Emperor to install numerous incompetent officials in the court. The 6 ministries became riddled with corruption. At that point, the threat posed by the Empress's kin could no longer be ignored. His Highness the Crown Prince submitted many appeals to His Majesty, but he didn't anticipate that Pan Rugui would leverage the authority of his office and join forces with the Empress to seize control of the court. None of the prince's written appeals reached the eyes of the Emperor. Are y'all catching any of this? I'm trying to put it together in my mind. On top of that, after His Majesty fell ill, the Empress turned away all visitors from the Grand Secretariat in the Eastern Palace whenever they sought after the Emperor's health. Those castrated dogs are a blight on the Empire. Jigong sighed deeply. If I'd known Pan Rugui harbored such ambitions, I never would have urged Father to spare him. Kill a Pan Rugui, and there will be some Pan Rushi or Pan Ruyi to take his place. The inner palace meddles in state affairs, while their kinsmen accumulate power. You don't understand, Jigong. These are deep-rooted maladies of the 8 great clans. As long as the clans in Chudu are allowed to do as they please, history will repeat itself. How can the Empress so deftly manipulate court affairs when she has lived for so long in the inner palace? Because of the long-amassed influence of the Hua clan. Even if the Empress wasn't a Hua, if she hailed from one of the other 8 clans, this consolidation of power would still be inevitable. Shen Zichuan couldn't help but cut in. But wasn't the Crown Prince born of the Empress herself? No. Grand Mentor Qi bowed his head. His Highness's birth mother was an imperial concubine. The Empress has no children of her own. His Highness was taken into the inner palace at a young age and raised by the Empress. Even a tiger will not eat its young, but there is no such kinship in the imperial clan. The hall fell silent again. Jigong huffed in the cold air and croaked. It was because of my excessive drinking that my father fell out of favor with the Emperor. If not for that, His Highness would never have found himself in such a predicament. Rumi, every time you hear Hua, you think of Hua Binan. You're contemplating if he's from the Hua clan. Yeah, there's been a lot of Huas lately. I didn't anticipate that Jilei would turn on us, for the sake of you and Ji Wufan, if nothing else. The Grand Mentor clutched the tattered curtain tighter. The memory left a bitter taste in his mouth. Who would have thought that he... Grand Mentor. There's something you don't know. Jigong looked at Chen Zichuan. and neither does Chuan. My father, Ji Wufan, was the chief commander of the Embroidered Uniform Guard, and had weathered life and death situations with the late emperor. They were very close. His first wife died young, and he had no intention to remarry, so he adopted 3 sons. Our eldest brother couldn't stand to participate in the heinous cruelty of the imperial prison. He left the capital in his youth for Tianfei Watchtower to be a common soldier. Jilei and I served in the Embroidered Uniform Guard and remained by our father's side, where he taught us G-style boxing and G-style blade. Later, my father came to believe that Jilei harbored some ill intent. He suspected he had political ambitions, so I was the only one to whom he taught the Ji clan's techniques of mental cultivation. But this only deepened the rift between us. After father's death, Jilei performed a thorough cleansing of those under his command. Many veteran guards were sent from the capital and stationed elsewhere. From then on, the Embroidered Uniform Guard was no longer what it once was. Such is fate, Grand Mentor Qi murmured. The Eastern Palace's subordinates did everything in our power, yet still failed to save His Highness. His Majesty suspected the Crown Prince of plotting a coup with the 8 great battalions, even though the reins of these forces were ever in the hands of the 8 great clans. Under Jilei, the Embroidered Uniform Guard discovered incriminating documents. They insisted these were connected to His Highness. Our men were taken into the imperial prison, and many of them died there. Some who couldn't withstand the torture finally crumbled, admitting to a crime they'd never committed. The Emperor, still on his sickbed, flew into a rage, with Pan Rugui whispering slander in his ears. His Highness was trapped with no way out. Tears streamed down the Grand Mentor's face, and the madness seemed to overtake him again. His Highness was right here, with no way out. Why didn't they kill me? Why am I left here to drag out this wretched existence? A life like this is worse than death, yet I still can't speed my steps to the grave. He fixed his gaze on Shen Zichuan, his tone turning frenzied. I won't take this lying down. Years of strategy and planning, down the drain. Countless compatriots serving the Eastern Palace are dead, and the injustice His Highness suffered is yet to be redressed. I won't accept it. He grabbed Shen Zichuan's arm again. You are so young. You still have a chance. Grand Mentor, Jigong rose to stop him. You can protect him now, but can you protect him forever? Grand Mentor Qi tightened his grip on Shen Zichuan. Today, I set aside my grudge out of respect for your fatherly affection. But will everyone in the world do the same? As long as his surname is Shen, there will be those who seek his life. Is prowess in martial arts enough to give him peace of mind? Your father was a master of these arts, Jigong, yet did he not die ill and alone? In Chudu, where the tides of power ebb and flow, it is the invisible hand that kills. Will you throw him naked to the wolves? Jigong clenched his fists, but said nothing. Grand Mentor Qi went to his knees. Tugging at Shen Zichuan, he said in a quavering voice, breaking with sobs, I am Qi Huilian of Yuzhou. You don't know who I am, but I will tell you. I was the top scholar in all 3 levels of the civil exams in the 15th year of Yongyi. Since the founding of Great Zhou, only 5 have emerged first in all 3 levels of the examination. I was a subordinate of the Eastern Palace, and at the same time the Minister of Personnel and the Deputy Grand Secretary of the Grand Secretariat. I taught the Crown Prince, and now I will teach you. I will impart my lifetime of knowledge, all of it, to you. What do you say? Shen Zichuan stared into Grand Mentor Qi's eyes, unnaturally calm. After a brief silence, he dropped heavily to his knees and kowtowed thrice to Grand Mentor Qi. If Xiansheng will be my scroll, I will be his sword. And there's a footnote, Xiansheng, a term of address for a teacher of academics. Elsie, why is he flexing? Yeah, I mean, I think he's trying to say, like, I can be a good teacher. Let me be your teacher, but it is kind of funny. It does seem like bragging. Henry, I saw that comment up there. He giggles in Rereader. And the thing is, I mean, I noticed it, like, around the time that you sent it, but I have no way of knowing what you were talking about. Like, even what sentence I was on, what you were referring to, no idea. We just learned a lot of things. And, yeah. Just before dawn, Ge Qingqing headed off to the Temple of Guilt. The wind was brisk, and the snow still drifted down in flurries. He huffed into his hands and looked for a steamed bun stall as he walked. He was surprised to hear someone call him from afar. A red silk umbrella floated through the snow, swaying as the person under it stumbled toward him. We got a red silk umbrella person? In Chudu, only those of the 5th rank and above were permitted to carry red silk umbrellas. This was someone of considerable wealth and power. Ge Qingqing stepped to the side of the road, bringing his hand to a scabbard to pay respect. The stink of alcohol hit him as the stranger staggered closer. The Scarlet Cavalry. The man stopped and reached out to pluck off the authority token hanging at Ge Qingqing's waist. Studying it for a moment, he said, "And where is Company Commander Ge going in this freezing cold?" Ge Qingqing fixed his eyes on the man's black boots. "Your Excellency, this humble subordinate is on duty at the office today and heading for the palace." There is art. I think we're going to look at it before I resume because I think it was of the previous scene. And this is a very beautiful and imposing Buddha statue. Yeah. I really like this art. Really nice. And I think I guessed correctly who it was with the red umbrella. Xiao Qi had been drinking all night. His clothes were in disarray. He lifted the token and said, "This doesn't seem to be the way to the palace." Ge Qingqing lifted his head with a sheepish smile. "Our Gongza leads a privileged life and knows not how the messy common alleys snake around. From here, you need only make a few turns and you'll emerge onto Shenwu Street, which will take you straight to the palace gates." "You know me?" Xiao Chuya smiled and tossed the token back to him. Ge Qingqing caught it and said fawningly, "The armored cavalry of Li Bei are brave and skillful warriors. Both the heir of Li Bei and the second young master have rendered meritorious service in coming to His Majesty's aid. How could anyone in Chudu not recognize you? Are you heading to your manor, Argongza? The road is slippery. May this subordinate be so bold as to ask if you require an escort?" Xiao Qiya raised an eyebrow. "Do I look drunk? You may go." Ge Qingqing bowed again and left. When Zhao Hui arrived, Xiao Qiya was tapping the red silk umbrella against the ground and nagging the steamed bun stallkeeper to hurry. "Breakfast is prepared at the manor. Why is Argongza standing around here for it?" "Too hungry to walk back," Xiao Qiya replied. Zhao Hui shook open an overcoat. "Wine and lust will lead you astray. Let's go back, Gongza." Xiao Qiya draped the cloak over himself, but stayed where he was. He took ravenous bites of the steamed bun, paying no heed to the looks of those around them. Can one reach Shenwu Street from here? He asked Zhao Hui. Theoretically, but it's not an easy path. Common alleys follow the routes of the public sewers. The narrower the alley, the more wastewater and excrement backup in it. The public sewers in Chudu haven't been properly maintained for years, and this area is rotten beyond recognition. Once the weather warms up, with snowmelt and rainfall, wastewater will flood the streets. What do you think? Is such a path smooth? I only asked you one question, Xiao Qia said. What's with the speech? I only mean you must be sure to take the proper path, said Zhao Hui. Drinking can wait, Gongzi. You will get there faster in the end if you take the long way around. How very strange. Go ask around and see if someone named Ge Qingqing is on duty in the 12 offices today. Xiao Qia wiped his hands and motioned for Zhao Hui to pay. Hey, old man. Better find a new line of work. Your buns taste horrible. Sir, you just chowed down on that bun. So much for tasting horrible. That is the end of the chapter. So I have a chapter goal today, and I actually, because I didn't really do this for Yuwu, and it was a bad idea, but I actually did some page math, and I figured out I absolutely need 8 streams to finish this volume, and I was gonna get through chapter 10 today, and that might put me a little bit over time, but I can do that today. So what I'm gonna do is have a break right now for 5 to 10 minutes, and when I come back, we will read chapter 8 through 10. As long as going over is cool with everybody. I'm just guessing that might happen. It's all just because of, the internet mess at the beginning of this stream. Oh, and Elsie, I think the advice of taking the long path was definitely an analogy for something else, because he was trying to tie it into, you know, not drinking, following the good path. I think he just found an opportunity to lecture him, basically. Blue, you got distracted trying to convince someone to read Arha. This is why you can't be a first-time reader. Yeah, if I was, well, especially if I was just listening to this as a new reader without the book in front of me, I would be super lost. As it is, me reading it out loud, I still am gonna have to go back and read it a second time later, so I hear you. Okay, so if it's cool, yeah, I'm gonna take a break, come back, we'll go over a little, no big deal. I will see y'all in just a moment. Hello, hello, I'm back. Still trying to absorb everything that has been happening. There's definitely... I feel like there's, a lot of political conspiracies at play. I can't wait until, some of the pieces start to fall in place in my head. We are on page 81 for chapter 8, which is called Suspicion. A great chapter title for this novel. You know, the vibe that I'm getting so far, very fitting. It was just before shift change for the Imperial Army, and the soldiers were freezing, huddled into themselves where they stood. The Imperial Army of Chudu had once been the Imperial Guards of the 8 cities, the impregnable fortress of the Imperial Palace in Chudu. Trivialities such as guarding and escorting convicts were, by all rights, beneath them. After the 8 great battalions' rise to power, however, their duties had steadily eroded until the Imperial Army became no more than a burden on Chudu. All military drills were abolished, and they became the capital's footmen in every sense. These days, the Imperial Army was filled with the sons of old military households who had never seen real combat, there to kill time and twiddle their thumbs. As a company commander of the Embroidered Uniform Guard, Ge Qingqing was not a particularly high-ranking official in Chudu, but he was perfect for the Imperial Army officers assigned guard duty at the temple, high enough to be worth flattering, and low enough to share a friendly chat. Patrolling the same streets of Chudu every day, after all, they had to look out for each other. Were he of slightly higher rank, these guards would not dare to pay respects so easily. But Ge Qingqing was affable and exceedingly generous with them, so when he brought Ji Gong, the Imperial Army turned a blind eye and let the man take over the job of the original attendant at the temple. Ge Qingqing greeted the officers on duty and distributed the hot steamed buns he had stopped for on the way. Ji Gong had yet to come out. Seeing his pensive expression, the squad leader said, "If Qingge is in a hurry, feel free to go in and take a look on our behalf." "Isn't that against the rules?" The squad leader motioned for the Imperial Army officers guarding the back door to make way. "Qingge is one of us," he said, through a bite of steamed bun. "Besides, we have this temple completely surrounded. Not even a drop of water could trickle through. He's not going anywhere." Ge Qingqing didn't decline twice. He stepped into the temple. Ji Gong was sitting outside under the eaves. When he saw Ge Qingqing, he stood and asked, "Is it time already?" "The sun isn't yet up. Ji Shu can stay a little longer." Ge Qingqing surveyed the temple courtyard. "This place is barely habitable, especially in winter. I'll have some quilts sent over today." Ji Gong could see he was distracted. "What's the matter?" "It's nothing." Ge Qingqing hesitated. "I just ran into Second Young Master Xiao on the way here." Shen Zichuan looked up. "This Xiao?" "Xiao Qiye," Ge Qingqing said. "He's the younger son of the Prince of Li Bei, the one who kicked you." You know, if we needed a reminder. "He was practically falling over, and he reeked of wine. I'd wager he went drinking last night." "As long as it wasn't Xiao Jiming." Ji Gong turned back to Grand Mentor Qi. "Grand Mentor hasn't left this place for 20 years, so you probably don't know the current 4 great generals of our nation. The Prince of Li Bei begat himself quite an heir. That Xiao Jiming is a remarkable talent." Shen Zichuan turned back to Ge Qingqing. "Qingge, did he ask you anything?" Ge Qingqing thought carefully. He asked me where I was going, and I said I was taking a shortcut to the command office. He remarked that the road didn't seem to lead to Shenwu Street, so I made up an excuse. I figured the son of a prince wouldn't personally investigate the common alleys. With anything involving the Xiao clan, it pays to be cautious. Make sure you go to the palace later and place a mark on the duty roster. Jigong rubbed his hands in the snow to clean them. Chuan-er, it's time to train. Wait. Shen Zichuan's gaze was dark and deep. You say it was a common alley in a residential district. What was a noble son like him doing there so early in the morning? Ge Qingqing was stupefied. Now that you mention it, the entertainment houses are all on Donglong Street, some distance away from that alley. It's freezing out, and he was nursing a hangover. What was he doing there? Lying in wait, probably. With the tattered curtain wrapped around him, Grand Mentor Qi turned over so his rump was facing outward. Shen Wei's case is of great concern to the Xiao clan. I heard Xiao Qi aimed to kill this boy with the kick he dealt him. Yet the boy's still alive and well. How could the young master not be suspicious? If he was truly oblivious, he wouldn't have asked a second question. Shen Zichuan still shivered when he recalled that kick. Shit. Ge Qingqing paled. It's my fault for being negligent. What should we do? He's probably on the way here now. Shen Zichuan turned to Grand Mentor Qi. It's all right. Since Xiansheng has already guessed this much, he must have a countermeasure in mind. Rumi, everyone is sus. Yeah, sounds like it. Zhao Hui arrived alone at the command office of the Embroidered Uniform Guard. Although the assistant commander on duty was his equal in rank, he didn't dare put on airs before the heir of Li Bei's right-hand man. He led Zhao Hui to the registry. What does General Zhao wish to see? Here are today's duty rosters for the 12 offices. Zhao Hui wasn't one for small talk. He flipped through the records in silence. I appreciate the hard work of our brothers from the Embroidered Uniform Guard in patrolling the palace grounds. A few days ago, I received assistance from a company commander by the name of Ge Qingqing. I've come to thank him. Is he on duty? There are quite a few company commanders from the 12 offices. You know what? I thought it was a typo at first, but they're actually calling it the 12's offices. I've seen that twice now, so I'm going to assume it's not a typo. There are quite a few company commanders from the 12's offices. They're all listed here, the assistant commander said, moving to the wall where the duty rosters of the 12 offices hung, clearly labeled. Well, never mind, because now it says 12 without the S, so I don't know. Zhao Hui eyed them. These records were off-limits to those who worked outside the palace. They weren't for him to touch. Perhaps the general knows which office he belongs to, the assistant commander prompted. I heard he works the morning shift, so perhaps the carriage office, umbrella office, or the elephant training office, said Zhao Hui. The assistant commander carefully checked the list of names for each office. After a moment, he turned to Zhao Hui. General, there's no such person on duty today. Shall I look elsewhere for you? Zhao Hui gently closed the book in his hands. There's no need. I'll find him on my own. Okay, 12's is a typo. They just made the same typo twice. The sky was beginning to lighten as Zhao Hui left the registry. He walked back along the road and out of the palace. The snow that had fallen on Shenwu Street was freshly swept, but the road was slippery. The sedan bearers who carried bigwigs to and fro took every step with care, not daring to move too quickly. As Zhao Hui passed a particular sedan, he caught a glimpse of the bearer's sidearm blade. The fleeting glance was enough to make him furrow his brow. "Please hold." Zhao Hui stopped the sedan chair. "Is this chair carrying the chief commander?" Sure enough, the sedan bearers were members of the embroidered uniform guard. The one in the lead gave a sharp nod. "If you know who's inside, why do you block the way? Move!" Zhao Hui flashed his own Li Bei authority token. The guard bowed his head. "Please excuse the offense, General." A slender hand lifted the window's curtain, revealing a lovely face. The woman glanced lazily at Zhao Hui before pouting coquettishly at someone deeper within. "A man looking for you, Your Excellency." Jilei had been drinking all night. Lounging comfortably in the sedan with his legs spread wide, he called, "General Zhao, is anything the matter?" Zhao Hui fixed his gaze on the guard leading the sedan as he answered, "It's nothing. I heard our young master went drinking with Your Excellency last night. Are you just returning?" Jilei laughed. "So you're worried about the second young master?" "Your young master had scampered off home by the time I opened my eyes this morning. Is the heir of Li Bei looking for him?" "The one who can't help worrying is me." Zhao Hui bowed. "My apologies for the disturbance, Your Excellency." "It's fine. I'm just now coming back myself," Jilei gestured. "Who talked back to the general earlier?" "Apologize." The guard in the lead went down on one knee. This humble servant, Ge Qing, was blind to not have recognized the general. "For my offense, I'm willing to accept my punishment." Zhao Hui was not mistaken. The name carved on the authority token hanging beside the guard's scabbard was indeed Ge Qing. Zhao Hui delivered his report as Xiao Qi sprawled with his leg propped up, reading a play. "So it seems he wasn't lying," Zhao Hui said. "He was just assigned to pick up Jilei before entering the palace this morning." "Yeah," Xiao Qi responded absent-mindedly. "Qingjun Pavilion is so close. Of course he could make it in time." "Something still feels off." Zhao Hui rubbed his thumb on the hilt of his blade. "Can't figure it out?" Xiao Qi turned the page. "I can't." "Then I'll tell you." Xiao Qi sat up, crossed his legs, and propped a hand on one knee. "You entered the capital at my brother's side, to a personal reception from His Majesty. All 12 offices of the embroidered uniform guard were following close behind in ceremonial procession. How could he not recognize you?" "Hard to say," Zhao Hui said. "Maybe he doesn't remember me." "You're wearing the same robe and carrying your blade. Even if he didn't recognize you, if he used his brain a little, he'd have guessed your importance and wouldn't risk reproaching you in such a condescending way in the middle of the street," Xiao Qi said. "Besides, I don't think he has a bad memory at all. He recognized me just fine." "I did think it was rather too much of a coincidence to run into him just then," Zhao Hui mused. "Yes, a well-staged coincidence." Xiao Qi cast aside the play he was reading. "This Shen Zichuan," Zhao Hui said. Xiao Qi's gaze was pensive. Letting him enter the Temple of Guilt feels like a losing move now. Ge Qing removed his fur collar and wiped sweat from his neck. Wu Tai Chun came running sheepishly inside. Thank you. Qingge, thank goodness for you." "Don't mention it," Ge Qing replied. "We are all brothers here." Wu Tai Chun grinned and turned to yell toward the person in the registry office. "Lao Shu, put Qingge's name on the record. He stood in for me to carry the sedan this morning. I caught a cold last night and woke up dizzy. Thank goodness Chingo was there to help. Since you've caught a cold, let's go to the Shu family's stall for mutton soup later, Ge Qingqing said, wiping his brow. Wu Taichun hastened to agree. Sure, it's Chingo's treat. Did you hear that, Lao Shu? Let's all go together later. Don't rush it. Ge Qingqing patted Wu Taichun on the back. Get some rest. Next time you feel unwell, don't hold back like you did this time. Just let me know. Wu Taichun bobbed his head like a puppy. So powerful was his craving for mutton soup that he would have agreed to practically anything. That night, Grand Mentor Qi at long last had a thick quilt to warm his old bones. He sat bundled up across from Shen Zichuan and said, In half a month, it'll be the spring festival. Chudu will host the court officials' feast. At that time, officials from all the provinces and prefectures will travel to the capital to offer New Year's greetings. I've no knowledge of the present state of affairs, so you'll have to fill me in. Shen Zichuan stood in the snow dressed only in thin layers, holding the starting stance of G-style boxing. Despite the cold, his brow was sheened with sweat. The Prince of Li Bei has been in poor health for many years, he began, and the heir of Li Bei, Xiao Jiming, has taken charge of all their military affairs. The prince himself is unlikely to attend this year. The 5 commanderies of Qidong also distinguished themselves by coming to Chudu's rescue. The first of their people to arrive and receive his bestowed title was one of the 4 generals, Lu Guangbai. Marshal Qi should also arrive in the next few days. So 2 of the major military powers of Great Zhou will temporarily reside. Hold it. Grandmaster Qi fished out a disciplinary ruler from within his quilt. Who are these 4 generals? Shen Zichuan obediently intoned. Iron Horse on River Ice, Xiao Jiming. Beacon Smoke and Rising Sand, Lu Guangbai. Windstorm through the scorching plains, Qi Juyin. Thunder on Jade Terraces, Zuo Qianqiu. Grand Mentor Qi considered a moment. I have only heard of Zuo Qianqiu, but this Lu Guangbai must be the son of the Earl of Biansha, Lu Pingyan. Although Lu Pingyan later went to guard the deserts of the Bianjun Commandery, he came up in Li Bei and is the sworn brother of their prince, Xiao Fengshu. If Lu Guangbai has a sister, she will surely have married into the Xiao clan. Am I right? Yes, Shen Zichuan dripped with sweat. Lu Guangbai's younger sister is the wife of Xiao Jiming. If that's so, why would you call them 2 major military powers? Grand Mentor Qi asked. The Lu clan might as well be a seed Li Bei planted in Qidong. These branches are more tangled than they seem. Furthermore, Chudu still has the 8 great battalions, and under them the Imperial Army. The 8 great battalions haven't the numbers of the armies of Li Bei and Qidong, nor their valiant reputation. But you must remember that Chudu is the beating heart of Great Zhou. These forces hold the Empire's life in their hands. The Grand Mentor weighed the ruler in his hand, then lifted the gourd and warmed himself with a few sips of wine. You must also remember this. Although the embroidered uniform guard are not technically soldiers, they are much more efficient than any common troops. When the Emperor commands his armies, he must be assisted by capable generals. What's more, a general in the field must be resourceful. At times, he may act against the orders of his sovereign. Keep too tight a rein, and you may hinder their progress. Hold on too loosely, and you risk raising a wild beast. It's a difficult balance and requires a ruler to adapt to the situation as it changes. The embroidered uniform guard, however, is a different matter. They are vicious hounds at the foot of the throne, and their chain is held by the emperor alone. Whether to tighten or loosen his grip, whether to pamper or discard them, depends wholly on the emperor's moods. Such a blade, such a pack of dogs. If it were you, would you not prefer them? Shen Zichuan struggled to hold his stance for a moment before answering. I would. So I would spoil them. But such excessive favor and trust will surely breed trouble. Your brother taught you well, said the Grand Mentor. That's right. Remember that. Commit it to memory. An excess of favor and trust breeds trouble. Keeping the virtuous close and the flatterers at a distance is sound in theory. But when you're in the thick of it, when darkness intersects with light, can you distinguish with certainty the virtuous talents from the crafty sycophants? Besides, there are many things a virtuous man cannot do that a crafty and despicable one can. The emperor resides in the depths of the imperial palace. He must understand checks and balances and pay heed to the varied voices of the officials and ministers. Nothing is so neatly divided. With Li Bei comes Qidong, and likewise, with the embroidered uniform guard, comes the Eastern Depot. Grand Mentor Qi paused. Water that brims must overflow, and every waxing moon must wane. Why does the Xiao clan hate Shenwei so fiercely? Do you see? No greater honor can possibly be bestowed on them after Zhongbo. Even if the Xiao clan fights another battle, every defeat will be a loss, and every victory will also be a loss. They have come to a dead end. A victory is also a loss? Their victory is also a loss. Did Xiao Jiming not lose his younger brother to Chu Du immediately after his battlefield triumph? With each battle he wins in the future, the danger will only grow. This time, he traded in his brother. Next time, it might be his wife, his father, even himself. Well, that doesn't sound good. But, Rumi, you were absolutely correct. You said, we know he's imprisoned, but this also seems like it's the best option for him to learn and mature. And I agree, like, at least he's in a situation where somebody is sneaking in his Shifu, and he can train. Xiao Jiming, you don't know what to make of Xiao Jiming? Same here. Like, he seems like he might be a threat, but I have no idea what his, like, motivations are right now. Then again, I don't feel like I know what anybody's motivations are, so... We are on page 91 for chapter 9, which is called Promotion. Toward the end of the year, the streets of Chudu teemed with people in their finest headdresses, cut from silk or gold paper into the flowers and insects of the new season. As the spring festival that marked the new year approached, the common folk prepared pastries and cooked meat at home in anticipation. The palace, of course, had started procuring ingredients for the court officials' feast a fortnight in advance. The entirety of the court of imperial entertainments was scrambling like mad to get everything done, yet only the eunuchs managed to line their pockets in the process, through skimming off the top. As Xiao Jiming dressed, Xiao Chuye riffled noisily through a book of accounts. Rifled? Rifled? It has two F's. But feel like maybe that... I don't even know. I don't know what that word should be. When these local officials enter the capital, they'll doubtless have to offer up ice respects to the capital officials. Ice respects has a footnote. In the Qing dynasty, ice respects were one of the 3 respects, along with coal respects and departure respects, used to bribe capital officials. But Pan Rugui is truly impressive in this regard. He's drawn up such a well-organized list. Only after they shell out are they allowed to proceed. And this is merely small change at the start of the year. Lu Guangbai brushed aside the foam on his tea. Let me give you an account. The money a junior eunuch pockets in 1 year under Pan Rugui far exceeds the funds allocated for a 1,000-man battalion stationed at the frontier for 2 years. Meanwhile, year after year, when our great Zhou deploys troops, the Ministry of Revenue grovels and pleads with us like a child to his father each time they ask us to fight. Yet when the battle is over, we're treated like bastards coming to collect a debt. The ones with the money are the real masters, Xiao Qi said with a smile. When we came to the Emperor's rescue this year, our Li Bei troops marched through ice and snow, said Zhao Hui. The men and horses are tired, and repairs on the armored cavalry's equipment must be completed before spring. The payments we owe the workshops are long overdue. Everything requires money. He carefully did the calculations in his mind. Before we entered Chudu, the Li Bei garrison troops worked the land where we were stationed and sold the surplus harvests to supplement our funds. We have to count every cent and make every cent count. Our heir's consort can't splurge on fine clothing for the household, even for the New Year holiday. The money a palace eunuch like Pan Rugui rakes in exceeds what the entire prefecture of Duanzhou collects in tax. Those investigating censors throw their weight around when they're sent to audit the local governments, but they don't dare utter a word about this corruption when they're at home in Chudu. But what can we do? We're broke, Lu Guangbai lamented. We worry over money year after year. At least with Jiming in the capital this year, the Ministry of Revenue can't drag their feet. They submitted their request for funds to the Grand Secretariat long ago. Pan Rugui has also behaved himself and signed his approval. Li Bei will likely see the money before he leaves the capital. Xiao Qi set aside the accounts and turned to Lu Guangbai. We have my brother, but what are you going to do? His Majesty won't see me, Lu Guangbai admitted. The Lu clan is unpopular in Chudu. The 8 great clans have always regarded us as uncouth desert dwellers. The Hua clan especially can hardly bear to look us in the eye. Even if you advised me to pay every kind of respect to Pan Rugui, I don't have the money to do it. As it is, we've barely enough to put food on the table. Other garrisons can work their land to tide them over the bad times, but Bianjun Commandery is yellow sand for miles. No farmland at all. This time, we mustered the troops in a hurry, but all the provisions for the men and horses during the journey were paid for out of Grand Marshal Qi's personal savings. To put it bluntly, if it wasn't for Marshal Qi's generosity, my troops would never have made it past Tianfei Watchtower. But how much money does Marshal Qi have? She's dipping into the dowry given to her by the old consort mother. Her private troops are on the verge of selling their own pants. The Ministry of Revenue passes the buck every day. I've gone round in circles with them till I'm dizzy. Dereliction of duty is what it is. They keep refusing to release the funds, figuring a country bumpkin like me can't do anything about it. It was rare that Lu Guangbai showed his temper, but he couldn't help it. The Bianjun Commandery defended the empire's desert frontier. Aside from Li Bei, they were the garrison troops who clashed most often with the Biansha horsemen. They ran themselves ragged, sprinting from one place to another year-round, eking out a living under the sharp edges of scimitars. They barely slept and never ate their fill. Yet Chudu snubbed the Earl of Biansha so pointedly that he had become an infamous pauper among princes. His clan kept nothing of the rewards bestowed upon them. Every bit had been sold, and the money used to replenish military provisions. Oh, Blue, this needed a list of characters and who they are a lot more than Capri ever did. Just a non-spoilery list with names and titles. Since someone told me last time the, character guide in the back is not really spoilery, and I looked at it a little bit, and a lot of the side characters get a very small entry, so I think that they do have that. Maybe it's a little more detailed than just the names, but I'm definitely going to be looking at that. It's hard though, because when you're first reading it, it's like I have trouble even remembering the name to look it up later. Like as I'm reading and I'm like, oh, this person, I'm going to remind myself who they are, and later I look at it and I'm like, I don't know who that is. I didn't just read this. But yeah, it's better than nothing. At least there is a guide. When Xiao Jiming had finished dressing, the maidservants filed out, leaving only the four of them in the room. Xiao Jiming took a sip of tea and remarked languidly, "It's good timing this year. The spring court officials' feast. Qi Juyin should be arriving any day, right?" "That's right," Lu Guangbai answered. "I was worried at first, but on second thought, let them drag this matter out as they please. If they delay until the Grand Marshal enters the capital, well then, good luck to them." "They all love her in Chudu right now," Xiao Jiming said. "Even the local thugs and loan sharks in Chudu respect her. Maybe these current accounts can be settled, but you can't keep relying on her. The Bianjun Commandery is of great strategic importance. I heard yesterday that the Ministry of Revenue will be asking you to recruit again this year." Lu Guangbai stroked the rim of his teacup. "Recruitment? Don't even think about it. Everyone's petrified after what happened in Zhongbo. The ministry is concerned about Bianjun getting skewered by the Biansha. They worry my 20,000 troops and horses can't hold them. But if we recruit more soldiers, will they grant us the money to pay them? I certainly can't afford it. Even if they hold a blade to my throat this year, I won't do it." "That's right," Xiao Chiya straightened up. "In the past, however slow they were to provide for other regions, the Ministry of Revenue was always quick to grant funds and rations to the garrisons in Zhongbo. Now that they're all dead, forget the money. What about the grain? There's no way the Biansha horsemen could carry it all as they fled." The other three looked at him. "Silly boy, you can forget about that," Lu Guangbai said. "All the recovered grain was used to pay salary arrears in the 13 cities of Jueshi this year. Do you see why the Ministry of Revenue keeps dodging the issue? The 8 clans have spent the better part of the last decade building up the 8 great battalions, and their equipment and budgets are the best in our Great Zhou. But all the money came straight from tax funds. Over 2 million taels. Anyone could tell you how insane these numbers are. But if both the Empress Dowager and Secretariat Elder Hua turn a blind eye, who in the Ministry of Revenue would be brave enough to bring the matter up? The 13 cities were hit with a plague of locusts last year. Not a single grain was harvested. With his bite taken out of the state treasury, where would the Ministry of Revenue find the funds to carry Jueshi through the hardship?" They've only scraped by thanks to the provincial administration commissioner, Jiang Qingshan, Lu Guangbai continued. He forced the prefectural officials of every rank to open their private granaries and distribute food to the affected commoners. Jiang Qingshan saved hundreds of thousands of people, yet he's loathed by every one of Juexi's officials. Before the new year, I heard debt collectors were banging down his door, trying to get their money. The man's a provincial official of the second rank, yet his 80-year-old mother still has to weave to pay off their debt. They'd be forced to their deaths if Chudu didn't pay up. In the end, it was Secretariat Elder Hai who submitted a report and fought the Grand Secretariat and Pan Rugui for a fortnight, and they still barely managed to make up the shortfall. Zhao Hui couldn't help but chime in. These capital officials claim to be poor, but the bribes come in such large figures, while the ones doing the real work must tighten their belts. We're walking on eggshells here. We might as well not have made this trip to Chudu. It's disheartening. Outside, snow was falling, but there was no festive atmosphere within. Messes piled up one after another, and the bright sights of Chudu were like gauze skimming the surface of an open wound, hiding the injury even as pus dirtied the ground. That's a line. The snow came at a perfect time, concealing everything so beautifully one could pretend not to see the filth beneath, allowing all to keep living like drunkards in this fool's paradise. Whoa. In the middle of the night, Pan Rugui sat on the settee with his eyes closed. A paper napkin folded in the shape of a flower sat beside him so he could wipe his hands after meditation. Xiao Fuzi didn't dare even breathe too loudly as he waited on the footrest, a brush case in his hands. After an hour, Pan Rugui exhaled and opened his eyes. Xiao Fuzi immediately presented the brush. Frowning in concentration, Pan Rugui wrote a few words in Xiao Fuzi's palm. Xiao Fuzi wasted no time buttering him up. Thanks to His Majesty's recent teachings, Lao Zuzong is becoming more ethereal by the day. Earlier, this little one even saw a wisp of purple smoke rising from your head. How auspicious. Pan Rugui wiped his hands and asked, "Do you know why you couldn't get into the Directorate of Ceremonial Affairs?" "Because you dote on me," Xiao Fuzi replied. "My doting on you is one thing." Pan Rugui tossed the paper flower into Xiao Fuzi's waiting hands. "You not being able to read the room is another. His Majesty has been enlightened for 2 years, yet even he still doesn't give off a purple aura. I'm a mere servant. How can I ascend first? Is that not overstepping my bounds?" Xiao Fuzi handed a cup of hot tea to Pan Rugui with an ingratiating smile. "You are my master, my heaven. Seeing Lao Zuzong meditate is like seeing Taishang Laojun himself. Why on earth would I think more of it?" There's a footnote. Taishang Laojun, or the Grand Supreme Elderly Lord, is a deity in Taoism. It was believed that Lao Tzu, who authored the classic Tao Te Ching, was the incarnation of Taishang Laojun. It always throws me off because I think it's Tao Te Ching, but it's always written in a different writing system than Pinyin. So I'm like, I don't know, I think I said that wrong. Where am I? Pan Rugui rinsed his mouth. "This filial piety of yours is about the only worthy skill you have." Xiao Fuzi snickered as he leaned close to Pan Rugui's leg. "The spring festival is almost upon us." It's only right I show my filial respect toward Lao Zuzong. While I was making New Year's preparations earlier, I spied a breathtaking beauty in Prince Chu's manor. I made some inquiries and thought, if His Majesty has no use for her, she really ought to be offered to you instead. How breathtaking could she be? Pan Rugui wondered. Can she compare to Third Lady Hua? Besides, isn't she in Prince Chu's possession? The prince has an obstinate temper. I'm afraid he won't let her go without a fight. No matter how noble Prince Chu is, he can't very well be nobler than His Majesty, can he? His Majesty didn't speak against it, so why shouldn't I present her to you? No need to worry. All the proper arrangements will be made before the start of spring. By the time you lay eyes on her, only her good or ill fortune will determine whether or not you accept your gift. Pan Rugui set the teacup aside. There's no hurry. I'm not an avaricious or lecherous man. But speaking of the obstinate Prince Chu, how is second young Master Xiao faring in the capital? Xiao Fuzi kneaded Pan Rugui's legs. Ha! That second young Master Xiao is really something. He's been carousing every night since the moment he entered the capital. Aside from eat, drink, and make merry, he hasn't done a single thing. Prince Chu and his ilk have readily adopted him into their company. Birds of a feather really do flock together. You know, Blue, that's a good question. I do not know the answer. I also don't know why Pan Rugui is addressed as His Majesty. Maybe that's just... Maybe that's just what, Xiao Fuzi calls him? Yeah, I'm not sure. That's all well and good, but he's still a member of the Xiao clan. His Majesty placed him in the Imperial Regalia service, but it feels too close for comfort. The idea makes me uneasy. Pan Rugui considered for a moment, then broke into a smile. I've just thought of the perfect spot for him. Put on my shoes. I'm going to Mingli Hall to serve His Majesty. The next day was the court officials' feast of the Spring Festival. After several uneventful hours, the feast had begun to wind down when the Xiande Emperor raised his voice. Ah, yeah. Have you been comfortable in Chudu? Xiao Chuye stopped peeling a tangerine to answer. Yes, Your Majesty, I have. The Xiande Emperor turned to Xiao Jiming. We've been thinking. Assigning Ah Ye to the Imperial Regalia service is a waste of his skills. He's a talented lad who has served on the battlefield. Keeping him so close at our side is too restrictive. How about this? Let Ah Ye go to the Imperial Army. Shi Guan used to command the Imperial Army, but now he's overseeing the 8 great battalions. He's up to his neck in work, so Ah Ye can take his place as Supreme Commander. Lu Guangbai immediately frowned. At the very least, the Imperial Regalia service worked under the nose of the Emperor. If anything should happen, His Majesty couldn't ignore it. What good was the Imperial Army? These days, they might as well be the errant boys of Chudu. Was this a reward? How could it be considered one? But before Lu Guangbai could rise to his feet in protest, Xiao Chuye was already bowing his gratitude. Supreme Commander sounds awfully impressive, almost like a marshal. Xiao Chuye flashed a careless grin. Thank you, Your Majesty. Secretariat Elder Hua laughed boisterously. His Majesty is wise. Now here's a young hero in the making, Shizi. The sounds of congratulations rose and fell through the banquet hall like the tide. Xiao Jiming smiled but said nothing as he gazed at Xiao Chuye. This arrangement may as well be a knife at Jiming's heart, Lu Guangbai murmured to Zhao Hui as he put his head down to drink. When the banquet ended, Xiao Qiye disappeared without a trace. His rowdy friends had clamored to congratulate him on his promotion, and he'd happily obliged. When they finally emerged from taverns and pleasure houses long after midnight, it was with unsteady steps. Prince Chu, Li Jianheng, was a few years older than Xiao Qiye and a true scoundrel. Even as he stepped up to his sedan, he was tugging at Xiao Qiye's sleeve, slurring, "Mighty impressive of you. In the Imperial Army, you won't have to bother with patrols or defenses. It's an idle job with a decent salary. No need to put your life on the line, yet you still get the money. All the best things in the world have fallen into your lap. I bet you'll be laughing in your sleep." Xiao Qiye also grinned, sharp and wicked. "That's right. Isn't that why I brought you out for drinks first thing? From now on, we'll storm the streets of Chudu together." "Yes, yes." Li Jianheng sighed blearily and clapped Xiao Qiye on the shoulder. "That's the spirit. Come to my manor in a few days, and I'll toast you again." Xiao Qiye watched the sedan dwindle into the distance before mounting his own horse. He had personally bred this steed from a line of wild horses he tamed at the foot of the Hongyan Mountains. It was swift and fierce, with a coat that was pure black, save for a snow-white patch on its chest. As Xiao Qiye urged it forward, the shops that lined the street moved to light their lanterns to illuminate his way. He raised a hand. "Put them out." The shop attendants exchanged glances, but none dared disobey. The lanterns winked out one by one until only the dim glow of the frosty moonlight remained, reflected on the icy road. Xiao Qiye whistled, and his ger-falcon swooped down from the darkness of night, echoing his call. He spurred his horse forward, and the battle steed snorted a cloud of hot steam and broke into a gallop. The strong wind battered Xiao Qiye, dissipating the flush from the alcohol. In the dark, he was like a cornered beast, trying to break free. The hoofbeats, the sound of him crashing against his prison walls. He sped through the deserted streets. The smile on his face dropped away under the cover of darkness, until all that remained was a cold, lonely silence. Blue, the prose in this novel is so good. There's so much dialogue that it's like for a while I don't notice anything, and then all of a sudden there's just a statement like that, and I'm like, whoa, okay. And Rumi, I agree, he's being hot about it. Who knew how long the horse had been running when Xiao Qiye tumbled off? He crashed heavily into a large snowdrift and remained there, head down. The horse trotted around him, lowering its head to nudge him. The ger-falcon, perched on his saddle, tilted its head to look quizzically at him. Xiao Qiye heaved, trying to keep it together, but soon gave up. He propped himself up and vomited into the snow. After several minutes, he finally lurched to his feet and leaned against the wall. The bone ring he wore on his thumb was a little loose, and now he realized it had fallen off during his tumble. He had just bent to search for it in the snow when he heard a low voice from a short distance away. "Who goes there?" Xiao Qiye ignored it. A squad leader of the Imperial Army held out his lantern to light the way. "How dare... Ah, Your Excellency?" Xiao Qiye turned. "You know me?" The squad leader shook his head honestly. "I'm afraid I don't recognize Your Excellency." "I'm your big brother." Xiao Qiye cast away his soiled cloak and dropped his eyes back to the snow, hunting for his thumb ring. He cursed under his breath. "Lantern. Here. You. Elsewhere." The squad leader cautiously drew closer. "You're Argongse, aren't you?" We just received the decree. It's a little early for an inspection. It's still dark out. Maybe if you come again tomorrow. Xiao Qia held out his hand, and the squad leader handed over the lantern. What is this place? Xiao Qia asked. The wall marks the perimeter of Chudu. This is the Temple of Guilt, the squad leader respectfully replied. That'll be all. The squad leader knew a dismissal when he heard one. He was about to back away when he heard Xiao Qia's voice ring out once more. Is Shen Zichuan here, inside the temple? Yes, the squad leader grew apprehensive. He's detained in... Bring him out. For a moment, the squad leader was stunned. Then he blurted, That won't do, not even if you're the Supreme Commander. His Majesty strictly forbade. In the Imperial Army, I have final say. Xiao Qia lifted the lantern. The squad leader stuttered nervously. Even so, don't kill... I want him to fucking come out here and sing a little song for my pleasure. Xiao Qia flung the lantern aside, and the light went out. He stood in the dark, his eyes filling with cruelty. Okay. We're on page 103 for chapter 10. Which is kind of a short chapter, so that's cool, so that's good. Awesome. We're only gonna go a little over. Oh, and did I say this chapter is called Drunk? Yeah. Xiao Jiming gathered his cloak around him as he waited under the hanging lanterns. Zhao Hui, standing guard behind him, spoke up. He should have returned by now. The man who went to pick him up said the young master left by himself on his horse. How is he still not back? Xiao Jiming huffed into the cold air and turned his face to the sky. Whenever he was unhappy at home, he would always take his horse for a gallop at the foot of the Hongyan Mountains, he said. Old habits die hard. At the very least, the Imperial Army is a real post, Zhao Hui said. Xiao Jiming shifted his gaze to him. Do you know my father's biggest regret? Zhao Hui shook his head. It's that Ah Ye was born too late, Xiao Jiming said. 3 years ago, we were ambushed at the foot of the Hongyan Mountains. Before our father's reinforcements arrived, Ah Ye led 20 cavalry who were supposed to be his personal guards and crossed the Hongjiang River in the dark. He trudged around in a muddy bog for half the night, setting fire to the Biansha provisions. When I saw him, he was filthy, and the wounds on his legs had festered. He was only 14 at the time. I asked if he was scared. He said he had a blast. Our father often said the Lu clan are the eagles of the desert, while the Xiao clan became the dogs of Li Bei. I don't like the saying, but in recent years, the Xiao clan has gone into battle like chained dogs. It's never as satisfying as it was in the old days. These long years of fighting have drained the ferocity out of me. The Xiao clan are not dogs, but Ah Ye is the only one of us who still possesses the heart of a wolf. He dreams of the mountains of Li Bei, yet now he must stay in Chudu and forget the freedom of galloping across the plain. Both father and I have let him down. After a moment's silence, Zhao Hui looked at Xiao Jiming. Don't be so hard on yourself, Shizi. The young master is naturally impetuous. He was never the best choice to continue your father's legacy. Whether he was born earlier or later doesn't matter. The reins of Li Bei would never be his. The commander-in-chief must have the iron tenacity of a hammer forged by experience, and willpower as steady as an anvil. The young master is not up to the task. Xiao Jiming was quiet. The night wind set the lantern swinging. Master and subordinate waited in the dark another hour before they spied someone riding toward them in the distance. "Heir Xiao." The man tumbled off his horse in his hurry to report. "Something has happened to the young master." Zhao Hui's hand went instantly to his blade. "Where?" "Oh, Blue, if I remember you talking about another book correctly, you don't like when authors do this. I'm so sorry. An hour earlier, the squad leader shoved a shackled Shen Zichuan down the steps. Sing. The squad leader prodded him from behind. "Quick, sing a few lines for the Supreme Commander." Shen Zichuan didn't utter a note as he looked at the man squatting in the shadow of the wall. As soon as he saw the Gerfalcon, his chest tightened. I did remember, yeah. Now, I know you've already read this at this point, so it probably doesn't matter. But I just saw that and immediately thought of your complaints about Modu. Oh, it's fine in this case. They're not playing it for suspense. Okay. Without thought, he pressed his lips into a thin line and stood unmoving. "Get over here," Xiao Qiye ordered. Shen Zichuan exhaled, his breath white in the frigid air. He slowly shuffled forward to stand a short distance from Xiao Qiye. Xiao Qiye rose to his feet. "Who was your mother?" "A dancer from Duanzhou," Shen Zichuan replied. "Then you know how to sing, don't you?" Xiao Qiye's gaze could chill a man to his bones. "That old dog Shen might not have taught you, but with a mother like that, you must have learned something." "I don't know." Shen Zichuan looked at the ground to escape his gaze, as if intimidated. "Raise your head." Xiao Qiye nudged the lantern aside with his foot. "Are you afraid of me?" Shen Zichuan had no choice but to do so. He smelled alcohol. "Fine," Xiao Qiye said. "If you don't want to sing, get down and look for something for me." Spreading his hands, Shen Zichuan showed him the shackles he wore. Xiao Qiye frowned. "Those can stay on." So Shen Zichuan squatted down and grabbed half-heartedly at a few handfuls of snow. "Stand up again," Xiao Qiye ordered, staring coldly at the top of his head. Shen Zichuan braced his bound hands on his knees and stood up. "Your legs seem fine, if you can bend and stand so easily," Xiao Qiye observed. Was the embroidered uniform guard too gentle with their flogging, or is a worthless life easier to sustain? "Naturally, it's because a worthless life is easier to sustain," Shen Zichuan answered quietly. "I was lucky." "That makes no sense." Xiao Qiye pressed the tip of his riding crop to Shen Zichuan's chest. "That kick was meant to end this life. Your martial arts foundation must be pretty good." At the touch of the riding crop, Shen Zichuan shuddered. Cowering back, he pleaded, "I'm just hanging on to my last breath is all. Argongza is a righteous man. Why make life difficult for a nobody like me? I've gotten what I deserve. Please spare me." "Do you really mean that?" Shen Zichuan sniffled with soft sobs. He nodded his head vigorously. Xiao Qiye retracted his riding crop. Words are easy. Who knows if they're true? "How about this? Bark for me, and once I'm satisfied, I'll spare you." Shen Zichuan kept silent. The look in Xiao Qiye's eyes terrified the squad leader. He urged Shen Zichuan with a few anxious shoves. Face drained of color. Shen Zichuan said timidly, "At least let me do it where no one else can see." Xiao Qiye didn't waste words. "Move. Get rolling." The squad leader relaxed immediately, saying happily to Shen Zichuan, "Get rolling. Yes, sir, we'll roll right away." Xiao Qiye's cutting gaze fell on the squad leader's face. The captain went weak at the knees. Pointing to himself, he said, "Just me? Sure thing." Gritting his teeth, he curled himself into a ball and rolled a few times in the snow before standing up a short distance away. I didn't think that he meant roll, literally. Shen Zichuan coyly shifted closer. He leaned in and whispered into Xiao Qiye's ear. Even if you spare me, do you think I will spare you? Snow scattered into the air as Xiao Qiye gripped Shen Zichuan's bound hands, his expression scathing. So the fox shows its tail. I was wondering about that pitiful act of yours. The two tumbled into the snow. Hands still trapped in handcuffs, Shen Zichuan landed a boot in Xiao Qiye's stomach and scrambled to brace himself. The Emperor ordered me confined, yet the Xiao clan dares defy the throne and take my life. After tonight... Xiao Qiye dragged Shen Zichuan toward him by the shackles. Shen Zichuan crashed to the ground, snarling through clenched teeth. Every one of you are accomplices to the Xiao clan's rebellion. My death means little, but when I go to the grave, the whole Imperial army will be buried with me. Xiao Qiye grabbed Shen Zichuan in a chokehold from behind, forcing his head up, and barked a laugh. You sure think highly of yourself. You imagine you're a precious treasure worth being buried with? Killing you is like pulling weeds. Struggling for breath, Shen Zichuan swiftly reached up and looped his shackles over the back of Xiao Qiye's neck, summoning all his strength to wrench him to the ground. Xiao Qiye was caught off guard, and as he scrambled, Shen Zichuan kicked him square in the chest. In an instant, their positions were reversed. Like pulling weeds, Shen Zichuan leaned down, finally meeting Xiao Qiye eye to eye amid the tumult. You squandered your opportunity, he spat hoarsely. From here on out, we'll see who will be the hound and who the quarry. Xiao Qiye seethed with murderous rage. Who is bold enough to help you in secret? If I find them, I'll kill them. The squad leader, horrified at this sudden turn of events, rushed over. Your Excellency, you mustn't kill him. That's right, Shen Zichuan cried. The second young master means to kill me tonight. Shut up. Xiao Qiye attempted to smother him with a hand. To his shock, Shen Zichuan bit down mercilessly. He pinned Xiao Qiye to the ground as his teeth tore through the fleshy web between Xiao Qiye's thumb and forefinger. I don't like that. I don't like that part. I don't like that detail. I don't like to think about that. You think you can hide behind a tantrum? Xiao Qiye's voice was frosty. No way are these the moves of someone on his last breath. When his exhortations had no effort, the squad leader cried out, "Pull them apart, quick!" Blood oozed from between Shen Zichuan's teeth, but he refused to let go. Xiao Qiye was perfectly sober now. He grabbed Shen Zichuan by the back of his collar and tried to drag him off. The pain in his hand felt like it would pierce straight through to his heart, yet it was Shen Zichuan's eyes that seared themselves into Xiao Qiye's memory. Gongzi, Zhao Hui called as he raced in on horseback. Xiao Qiye turned and saw his elder brother as well, already dismounting and rushing toward him. Instantly, he was overcome with shame. It was as if he'd been stripped bare of his cultivated bravado and returned to his worthless primal state. Xiao Jiming dropped to one knee beside them, and Shen Zichuan immediately released Xiao Qiye's hand. The skin between his thumb and forefinger was a mess of flesh and blood. The teeth marks sunk deep. Zhao Hui, close behind, saw the wound at once. What happened here? Take him back inside. Xiao Jiming's voice was low. Zhao Hui dragged Shen Zichuan up and into the temple. The young master is drunk. Now, pause. There's art. We're all gonna look at it. We're looking at the art. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Yeah. Um, Blue, thank you, Suto, for my life. Mm-hmm. Xiao Jiming glanced at the squad leader. Word of what happened tonight needn't spread. His Majesty will hear the apology from me directly. The captain kowtowed several times. Of course, as you say. Xiao Jiming rose to leave. Zhao Hui had already shoved Shen Zichuan back into the temple. After appraising the situation, he turned to the squad captain. Many thanks to our brothers in the Imperial Army tonight for escorting our young master back to the manor safe and sound. It's not easy standing guard on a winter night. I hope our brothers will accept my offer of a round of warm wine. The squad leader, terrified to offend him, very sensibly agreed. Only then did Xiao Jiming look silently at Xiao Qiye. Xiao Qiye hadn't even moved to clean the blood off his hand. By the time he opened his mouth to speak, his brother had already turned away and mounted his horse. Daga, Xiao Qiye called to him softly. Xiao Jiming heard him, but rode away without a word. That's the end of the chapter. Okay. You know, I gotta say, I've been really confused with all the names of people and, like, what is going on politically. There's quite a lot of information that has been given very quickly. But, Tang Jiuqing writes an action scene very well, because it was like, even before the art, I feel like I could visualize exactly what was happening. And sometimes I'm really bad at, like, following action scenes. Like, I read it and it just doesn't translate to, like, okay, what is actually going on? But this was very clear. Like, I was just like, I know what they're doing. I know what's happening right now. So I'm very impressed by that. Their narration is very cinematographic. Yes, agreed. It's great. It was nice to have the art too, but, like, I basically could visualize that. Yes, that line, Henry wrote it, and it definitely stood out to me, and yet it was Shen Zichuan's eyes that seared themselves into Xiao Qiye's memory. Yeah, that, yeah, I noticed that. Well, this was fun. I will try to reread, at least skim over everything again before next week. And, like, write down some stuff and maybe get a better idea of, like, the politics. I really like Xiao Qiye, and I really like the way Shen Zichuan can, like, act very coy and small, but he's really hiding something behind all that too. And I think that's very interesting. And I can't wait to find out more of just, like, what the heck is going on. Because there's a lot of suspicious behavior. Henry, I was trying so hard to shut up about the bite. I'm so happy we got to it. I'm glad too. Yeah, I'm glad I didn't just, like, put off that chapter until next time. Because that was beautiful. That was what I wanted. So yeah, thank you all for joining me. I will see you again next week on Monday. So have a great rest of your week. And yeah, bye.